Guys, so it looks like this is going to be my new setup from now on, with a lovely view of my kitchen and the open shelves in the background, and this lovely yellow chair that I don't know how to sit in right now. Anyway, I hope you guys are doing well. Today I wanted to talk about changing your life plans and readjusting a little bit. I wanted to travel around the world and be an English as a foreign language teacher for the past probably 4 or 5 years, but last year, ever since I started really feeling my symptoms, I had to seriously start thinking about changing that plan. As much as I love teaching, and that is a lot, I don't think that I have the energy levels at this point to keep up with a classroom full of kids. It has nothing to do with my wheelchair. I know people in wheelchairs are more than capable of teaching, but for me, I'm so fatigued today I can barely speak, but I just don't see that being a possibility, and it's not fair to the kids. I had to start thinking about what I could do instead, and that's kind of hard because, well, when you have a chronic illness, you can't exactly do a 9-to-5 job easily. I mean, you can, but there's always the possibility of having to call in sick or having to leave early or come in late, and that's not what a lot of companies want. There are a couple options for people who are chronically ill based off what I've read on the internet. Obviously, working from home in some way is the best, so if you're freelancing in any way, if you're a YouTuber, which obviously is not my career choice, but maybe for someone it'll work out, I don't know. So yeah, if you're freelancing from home as some type of creative blogger, YouTuber, if you're maybe a graphic designer, that could probably work. I also read, however, that working for nonprofits can be really good because they're very accommodating. And so I started to think. When I was on vacation in Europe, all I could think about was the kids that were being separated from their parents from around the world, whether that's due to refugee situations, as in the Syrian refugee crisis, not just any refugee in general. Am I making sense? I don't know. But okay, so Syrian refugee crisis kids being separated from their parents at the US border, etc., etc. And I realized as I was unable to sleep that night because I was so worried about those poor kids that maybe that was a sign that I should do something. So I started looking into it. I did some research and I realized that there are a lot of people trying to put an end to orphanages. To sum up a complex issue, there are 2 big reasons as for why orphanages are not great. Reason number 1, sometimes the kids in orphanages aren't even orphans. Their parents may have left them there hoping to pick them up again once they had the financial means to care for them, or the parents may have left them with an elderly relative, such as a grandparent, and then when that grandparent died and the parents were abroad working, the authorities would have taken them to the orphanages. That doesn't sound so bad, right? But the conditions are often deplorable. I've heard stories of children just being tied to beds and left there, which is usually what happens to disabled kids in orphanages, but that shouldn't make a difference. No child should be treated that way. Number 2 is that any kids in orphanages, regardless of if they have parents living or not, usually come out pretty psychologically damaged. So these kids are faced with a constant rotation of caregivers, meaning that they have tons of different people caring for them and are unable to form any real strong bonds with a caregiver because that caregiver isn't always there. This is only exacerbated by the voluntourists, if you've heard of that term, where more privileged people are coming to try and help kids in orphanages, which is great, but they usually only volunteer there for the duration of a few months. So again, the children are getting attached to someone who they'll probably never see again. This means that kids are then unable to form attachments in later life, and in some rare conditions, if faced with trauma, they could end up with dissociative identity disorder, which you may or may not have heard of. That's another topic altogether, but please know that these conditions are deplorable and unhealthy for children, which is why, in general, people are fighting to get these children into foster homes. If they can stay with a foster home that is stable, then they can form attachments to the caregiver and can therefore have a normal bond and learn proper attachment skills, is that the phrase? And social skills, that sort of thing, because these children are often lacking in socialization as well. Where do I come in, you might ask? Well, I am currently in the process of transferring my major to youth studies, which is pretty much what it sounds like, studying the youth, or children, and learning about problems that they face and ways to solve them. I'm really excited for this. The classes are really varied and interesting. I'm personally really excited to take a class that I have forgotten the name of, but is about how youth, this major uses the word youth a lot, anyway, how they deal with their situations through spirituality, because I think that sort of thing is really fascinating. But it's very varied. You can take classes on theater and how you can connect with children that way, or what kind of media they're exposed to, and cultures in general, and how to speak to people in that sort of situation, so a public speaking class. And I think it'll really prepare me to work with a nonprofit after I graduate, maybe even Lumos, which is J.K. Rowling, the author of Harry Potter, if you didn't know. Well, it's her nonprofit, which is dedicated to eradicating orphanages in Eastern Europe. The fact that I am disabled as well, I think, can be a big help to the kids, because A, it can show them that no matter what kind of situation you're in, you can still have a good life. So even if they're coming from an orphanage, they can still go on to lead a happy and productive life. And that comes really close to the whole inspiration thing, which most disabled people don't want to be. But that is more, I don't want to be an inspiration because I'm in a wheelchair. I want to be an inspiration because I helped all these children and that I made the world better in some way. This has been pretty rambly, and I do apologize. Again, I'm really tired, but I hope this kind of gives a silver lining to you if you are facing the reality of having to take a look at your life plan and thinking, okay, I need to change this because of my physical health situation. It's not necessarily the worst thing in the world. I never knew youth studies was an option, and now that I've found it, it actually seems really suited for me. Suited for me? No, I am suited for it. It is suitable for me. You know, I'm tired when my language starts breaking down. Overall, I'm just trying to tell you a little bit about my life and how I am moving forward, and also give you a little bit of hope, I suppose. Not to sound like a typical YouTuber, but if you've had to change your life plans because of a chronic illness or disability, comment down below and tell me. Don't forget to subscribe. Oh, I hate myself. But seriously, if you have, I'd like to know, because that's pretty cool. Also, feel free to comment if you have any videos you'd like me to make. I saw a nutritionist recently to just make sure my eating habits were on track. So I'm happy to make some type of like food diary video, or I don't really know what else. But if you have any ideas, let me know. See ya.